Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. Of course, I am your host, BMR. How is everybody today? 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a snowy and cold day in the great state of Michigan. Yes, it is. I went out to start up the vehicle, and I thought I needed a new battery. It just wouldn't turn over. And it's a newer car. It's about 3 years old, but that's how cold it was over the night. It went below zero during the night. So I'm glad I got that puppy started up. Thanks for coming on and helping me start my day. I got Brent Thomas with me, Krista Tweedy, and of course Tex, all back in studio B, C, and D. That's right. Studios B, C, and D. And of course, BMR is in studio A. It doesn't matter what studio you're in as long as they're all here. We have a great show. If you're new here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Mystery Rob on YouTube, Texas Front Porch on YouTube, The Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube. Brent Thomas, he's not a guest anymore. He's kind of like the special host on this show, and he's been featured on Texas show. I'm sure he's going to be making appearances on the Blondes and Booze. He's well-traveled. He's well-traveled in the paranormal world. Thanks to Brent for coming on in, and thanks once again for each and every single one of you. Monica Rollins, Our Paranormal World. Subscribe. Donnie Cho Says Stuff. And I think Daniel Diva's got a new show. I think it's called, Daniel Diva. I don't know. Tex knows I forgot. But subscribe to our channels. Give us a like. Share us out. Thank you ever so much for coming on in. The Super Chat's open. A great way to help support what we do around here. Thank you for that. Also, you can become a BMR pirate. Join today. Join the many. Join the few. Depends on your point of view. And of course, as Tex coined some time back, and we'll add Brent into this. If you become a member to 4 of our channels now, BMR, The Blondes, Tex, and now Brent, you can become Paranormal Porch Pirates. What you get from me is a bandana and my picture next to your name in the chat room. I might come out with some material in January for members only. So, yeah, check it out. It's a lot of fun. This is a good time. And thanks to everybody that does it for us. We got a lot to talk about tonight, and we got some advertising to do. Before I do that, I'm going to bring up my illustrious panel from the state of Texas. Tex Wesson.
How.
From the state of Missouri, Krista Tweedy.
Hey.
The Show Me Girl.
The show. And of course, somewhere in Idaho, from the Paranormal Portal, Mr. Brent Thomas.
You could just say from the state of confusion, Brent Thomas.
I like that, and I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Krista was a late addition. I had Brent, Rob, and Tex, but I did put the booze emblem in that last thumbnail that y'all saw.
Oh, no big
Krista
deal.
was a late addition, so I didn't put the lovely Krista on, but
I'm not working today, so I had a meeting at school today, so here I am.
Here she is, and thanks to everybody for coming in, listening in the chat room, or listening wherever you may be. We got a pretty cool show. I got a couple things to talk about. And before I get started, it seems like BMR always has a problem before a show. He really does. I don't know if it's karma. I don't know what the heck it is. My washing machine is less than 5 years old. And I've been having problems with the spin cycle. When it's done doing a wash, everybody, the clothes don't get wringed out. So when I open the lid, everything is drenched wet. Now that it's winter, I can't take it outside and let them dry. So I have to put it back. I could.
She's like Mom used to make.
Certainly today I could, Tex. So I got to put it on the spin cycle and it spins it out. But I went the cheap route. I don't know how old this is. It's under 5 years, at least 3 years. I spent $500 because I didn't want to spend no money. But it was a Maytag. I remember back when I was growing up, Mom and Dad always bought Maytag. That was supposed to be the ironclad. In fact, I think their Maytag washers and dryers lasted 25 years. If I buy a Maytag, man, yeah, they've been in business for hundreds of years. So I bought a Maytag for $500. But all the other ones were $800, $1,000, $1,200. I'm not buying that just to wash clothes.
No.
I don't know, you guys.
Yeah. They don't make them like they used to. They don't make wash machines. They don't even make vacuum cleaners like they used to.
They only make them to last a certain, because they want you to buy more.
Planned obsolescence. Planned obsolescence.
Yep.
I learned that long ago.
Like it used to. Nothing.
Yep.
Not cars, not nothing.
But Tex, if I got 10 years out of $500, I'm a happy camper, right?
That is true.
But, and boy, that's somebody go,
hello?
Now I need to. Now I need hearing aids. We can hear you, Krista. Oh, there we go. Oh, so anyways, so that's that. And yeah, I hate to bitch and moan about it, but right around Christmas.
It's so kind of funny though, because that they're advertising for Maytag. Wasn't that lonely guy that just kind of sat in his office all the time?
Yeah, he looked like an old postal worker. Yeah. I think that was Dick Van Patten, wasn't it? I don't know. I forget. He was one of those old guys, the Maytag repairman, come to your house free of charge.
But they don't make people like they used to either. You look at our previous generations and those guys were like coiled steel, and now we're kind of like marshmallows. The old generation, God, they could just power through anything.
It was Jesse White.
Was it? Okay.
Jesse White.
Yeah. Well, apparently they've lost their way.
Yeah, they've lost their way. And before we get too deep into my tale of woes, we got something going on. And Brent, you're a part of this now, and Chris is on the phone, but that's okay. We can start this a little bit before we get rolling with the show. We've got an event coming up. I got so much stuff in here, text. Here it is. Crossing Realms Conference. It's coming up. UFOs, Paranormal, and Cryptids. The conference, September 19th and 20th. It's in Richmond, Missouri, at the Eagleton Civic Center. Tickets are on sale on Eventbrite. The link is posted here. The link is posted on all of our profile pages on YouTube. So if you're interested, go click on that link. And it's doing, people are buying tickets, and we're having a ghost hunt. We're having a whole bunch of cool stuff. In fact, we just came out with this the other day. Here's some of our speakers and featured guests. Josh Hurd will be a speaker. He'll be attending the ghost hunt. Filmmaker and author in the paranormal field, ghost hunter. Heather Mosier, producer, Small Town Monsters, is speaking. Frank and Dan from Haunted Garage will be there. They'll be bringing a haunted car that night for that event as well. And of course, our master of ceremonies is the great Tex Wesson. Other speakers include Ronald Murphy and Ann Celine, William Lunsford from Arkansas, awesome guy, a lot of great encounters, a couple books. Greg Ogles, filmmaker, researcher. Dr. Dean Bertram, UFO specialist. He's got a great show called Our Talking Weird. You can find him on Doug Hijack's channel, which Doug is also a sponsor for Monster Quest for us. Special guest Dana Stricker, medium, psychic medium lecturer, Ken Gerhard, and of course, last but not least, The one I'm most excited to meet, because I've met the other ones, Brent Thomas, our very own Brent Thomas, who's now become an addition to our lovely family on our YouTube stations.
This is going to be the first time, as of now, that everybody from the blondes, from the blondes and the booze and the porch and BMR and Donnie Cho and
Donnie Cho, yes,
and
Monica, everybody.
Monica, and everybody's going to be there.
Yeah, exactly. Text. And I just listed the speakers. All of us four are going to be there. Donnie, Paranormal Paul, Daniel Diva, Monica. If I'm forgetting somebody, I apologize. But
there's one that you don't know about that we just confirmed, and I'll let Tex talk about that one. He just texted me on it.
Okay, wow. It's always a surprise every day, Tex.
Right? Ryan Edwards.
Very
My
nice.
little brother, Ryan Edwards.
Yeah, from Texas. He's got a couple books out. He's been on our shows several times. And I tell you what, he's about in his early 20s. The guy knows more about Bigfoot.
Yes, he does.
Than most people that are 50 years old that have been researching for 10 years.
Yep.
So, yeah.
That ain't no lie.
That is not
Somebody said I sounded like I was whispering. How do I sound now?
You sound like you always sound, Tex. Fantastic.
So I was told that we couldn't karaoke on Friday night. So
oh no.
We
so
can't
you can't karaoke on Friday night.
I don't understand. What do you mean? We don't even know where we're going Friday night.
We're not going anywhere on Friday night. We got the meet and greet Friday night. Or is that Friday?
But we have Thursday night.
Thursday night.
If we go down a day early, yeah. I'm going a day early because I'm putting on my party outfit for Thursday because we'll be working Friday, Saturday.
Yep.
What's your party outfit?
Well, Brent, since you'll be there, you will see it.
Arr,
mateys.
That'll be fun.
You be walking around with a peg leg and a hook, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not going that extravagant.
There's a place there in town that I don't know if they have karaoke or what they have there. It will be a Thursday night, but they do big concerts, not like super big, but like last month, I think the Kentucky Headhunters were there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's right there in town.
You know, that'd be great, Chris. And you weren't there. Me, Tex, Jason, Randy. Randy will be there as well. I think. I'm not sure yet with Randy. A couple of years ago, we were in Texas, or was it Alabama, Tex, where we did a brilliant rendition of Queen's.
That was Texas. That's Jefferson.
Yeah, Jefferson. We did a brilliant karaoke rendition of Queen's. What was the song? Oh, Mama.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh.
That has become I think an annual thing because we did it again this year too.
Yeah, that's like kind of a cult classic. You know, see, we're out there singing, pouring out our souls, our hearts. Got no applause, of course.
Well, I guess if it comes down to it, we can always I've got a big old karaoke machine here. We can just do that after the meet and greet, right?
But here was the
make
thing.
Our own fun.
You know what was cool? There was people watching us in this this area where we were all singing, right? And this bar was pretty big, Tex, if I remember. You remember, certainly. And do you know that we heard all these people like whooping it up, hollering, clapping when we got off stage. And that entire bar, because this bar was huge, and every single television or monitor in the whole bar had us like on the screen blasting it through the speakers. And we all signed autographs, and it was fantastic.
Funny.
Yeah,
how sober were you guys when that took place?
Do what?
That, Chris?
I said, how sober were you guys when that?
Oh, we weren't.
We were. It was right around at least closer to midnight than
there was no. I think the only sober one was Jason at that point.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he's.
You guys give me a minute. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Yeah, no
Thanks.
problem, Brent.
All right.
So
Be fun. I think we'll have a good
yeah, we always have a good time.
Regardless.
We had a good time last in Alabama, so it's always fun.
We always have fun.
We travel well and have a good time and mix in seriousness and
Mm-hmm.
do our thing. And the thing I like most about the conferences is meeting you people out there in the chat room and all the people that follow us. That's always
Me too.
awesome.
Yep. For sure. Because a
Work
lot of
hard,
the
we play hard.
friends. Yep.
Yep. I was going to start the show with something that I was watching on Brent's channel. We'll wait for him to get back. So, this is kind of, we're gonna, I don't have any guests on this show for the rest of December. I'm just kind of kicking it with you guys when you come on in and talk about whatever we have going on. And so, so I don't know. I was just
Well, I was just going to say, if anybody's going to be in the Alabama area, Greg Ogles has that the premiere coming out January 4th. So that'll be fun.
January
that's
4th,
something,
indeed.
unfortunately, I won't be able to make. I wish I could.
Well,
Yeah.
he's premiering his latest movie or documentary, if you will.
Yep.
Mhm.
And that's pretty cool. He's doing it at an actual movie theater, the AMC movie theater.
Yeah. It's going to be a good one.
Rolling out the red carpet.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Me and Brandy, we were fortunate enough and blessed enough that we're in it too.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, yes, you are.
Yeah.
I'm having somebody else that was in it on the 23rd on the porch. Greg Ogles is gonna be there, and Adam Davies is gonna be on the porch the 23rd.
Yep.
So
Adam is a lot of fun, as you know, Tex.
yes, he is.
Adam can get you in trouble.
He can. Like I need help.
Right.
Like I need anybody's help.
Right.
Me or you, Krista. We don't need anybody's help.
Yeah,
No,
well,
we
I've been known to get people in trouble. I almost got Brandy in trouble at our last outing. We were at a gas station getting gas or whatever, and we were driving around. And so we're I don't know what event, where we were going. I think we're going to the last bar we all went to.
Yeah.
And she goes, Can you see? I can't see. She had to merge on traffic. And I said, yeah, just gun it. Oh, so she guns it haphazardly with my advice. And right in back of us was a smoky blast in front of this cop.
Did she get pulled over?
And she has Missouri license plate. Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, oh, Rob, what did you just do to me? I go, I don't know. What do you mean? There's a cop in back of us. I'm like, just keep looking forward. Don't look in your rear view mirror, blah, blah, blah.
Act normal.
She goes, you think I should should I just get off on this exit? No, that means you did something bad. Just keep straight. So we go past the exit to get to the restaurant bar we were all at. I said, yeah, I think it's good to. Oh, he turned off. And then she read me the riot act, of course. Brandy gave me her peace of mind, and then we laughed it off, and then we saw you guys at the.
That's too funny.
Yeah.
Well, at least if you guys would have got pulled over, nobody had started drinking or anything yet. So
no, this is well, the guy that was the man that was navigating Brandy was me, and I had started a little earlier than she did.
You were in the passenger seat. She was the one driving.
Right.
I know for a fact Brandy does not drink.
No, she wasn't at all. I had maybe 2 or 3, so I was fine.
Right.
I always have my stash back at the hotel room.
We just know not to listen to you when you're riding shotgun there to pull out in front of traffic.
Well, the problem was
today.
Well, here's the problem. Normally, I'm pretty flexible. I couldn't quite look over my left shoulder far enough. I had a kink in the neck or something. I don't know what it was.
That's where you go, I can't see. It's simple.
But Tex,
no.
but Tex, as you well know, I work a lot on intuition and my gut instinct.
His gut told him there's no cars coming. Gun it, Brandy, go.
But it was clear. But we happened to gun it right in front of us. an Alabama trooper.
Yeah, that's too funny.
So, Brent, I hope everything's okay. You took that phone call.
It was kind of bad news, but it's actually it was a death in the family. So that's
I'm sorry.
Well, if you need to go, we can handle it.
it's okay. I mean, it's a distant part of the family and someone that I was familiar with, but not real close to, unfortunately. But it's just tragic. Basically, what had happened was she was a brand new mother. She was like 30 years old, and her dog went out on the ice, and her last post to social media was like, "Oh my God, my dog's giving me a heart attack," with a picture of the dog out on the ice. Well, apparently she tried to go out there and
oh no, that's
yeah.
awful. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's tragic. It hurts, but it's I feel for my family members most of all. It's
Sure.
like that's the kind of pain no
Yeah.
father should ever have to endure.
Not at all. I'm right there with you, man.
So I'm sorry to bring the mood down, but that's just what happened.
I mean, I'm sorry for you, the family, and even though maybe it's distant family, I'm just bad when it comes to these type of tales, or even in my family, all of our families. I don't think we all handle that our own way.
Yeah.
So my prayers out to the family.
Yeah. Amen, brother. Amen. But I guess it's what can you do? It's up in your neighborhood though, Rob. It's in Michigan.
Oh, it is.
What happened in Michigan? Yeah.
Oh wow. Well,
but anyway,
now and I feel doubly bad.
Because it's Michigan, you feel worse.
Well, I went on air. It's in Michigan. Boom. Again, but anyway, I'm sorry. And well, maybe to keep your mind off of the news you just got.
Yeah.
I must tell you, Brent.
Yeah.
And I know you've talked about this probably a lot in the last several days. In fact, I told Krista to go check it out. I don't know if she did or didn't, but that's fine.
Yeah, but I will.
I happened to. You went on late night, whenever it was. I think
Saturday
my time.
nights.
Yeah, it was 1, 2 in the morning, my time, whatever.
Yeah.
And my alert went off. I go, who the hell is this now? And I saw a Paranormal Portal. Subscribe on YouTube, everybody. And I'm my alert bell. And everybody set your alert bells. We don't put out the schedules. You won't miss a show. Alert bell. Set it to all Jason Finch. Jason Finch, by the way, sends me an email. Hey, Rob, can you check out if my alert bells are on? Jason, the answer is no, I can't.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
No, you have to do that yourself, buddy. So, what's really cool, though, before I get into yours, Brent, is Krista and Brandy always do ghost hunts. They do them live. Sometimes I've hosted them on my channel. Sometimes Tex has. Sometimes they've just done it on their channel. And they do a lot of cool stuff. And they have all the equipment going off. And we see certain things and hear various noises. Very entertaining. They're one of my favorite shows ever to do.
Yeah.
And they're very good. And then so I said, oh, wow, Brent's live at a haunted bar.
Yeah.
Which is totally up my alley. I must tell you, it was 4:00 in the morning when I finally had to go because I had to get up like in 3 hours.
Oof.
But I was infatuated. You had so much activity, man. So, and I mean that. You guys go check it out. It's well worth the watch. So, Brett, if you want to walk us through that once again, but we're going to funnel traffic to this show because it was fantastic.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's I think I titled it like Incredible Haunting Activity at D-Max Bar and Grill or D-Max Bar or something like that. But anyway, the history of the location is it's been around since the 1800s, which up here in North Idaho is really old because this part of the country wasn't really habitated by much other than encampments and stuff and logging. And so it's been around forever, but it had been apparently a brothel. It had been a speakeasy. It had been several things. It had been a resort. It had, been a lot of different things. So the story goes that when it was a brothel, there was a lady who's known as Maddie, like MADDIE or something to that effect, but she was a working girl. She played piano, and she was apparently incredibly beautiful, but her life was tragically taken from her. So it's believed that her spirit lingers in this location, as well as I'm sure there were other tragedies around this location other than this, but these are the two we really know about. And the other one was the former owner, who was named Perry, and he owned it for like 20 some years up until more recently, when he lived in an apartment above the bar, and he died in that apartment. But there's many that believe that he still haunts the place, and possibly other things. But I've been there 2 other times, and there was some moderate stuff that happened, but nothing really definitive. Like, it's sometimes what seemed like intelligent responses, and then nothing. And then Krista, as and Tex, as you've done investigations, you just don't know when they're going to be active or for how long. And even though you get intelligent responses, it may be only 1 or 2, and then you're done, one and done, or something, or it could be a string of them. But it started out the night there on Saturday night, last Saturday on the 7th, and it was there was some pretty encouraging stuff, but nothing really over the top. And I just thought, well, I didn't do a live show because I'm usually in the studio on Saturday evenings doing live streams. And I told everybody, look, if I can, I'll stream it. So I thought, well, we'll just sit down and put some equipment on the table here and just do a live stream and bring people with us. Yeah, that's a reminder. And so we were there, and I started streaming. And I don't know what it was, but both my co-investigator, Charles Howard Johnson, and I definitely noticed that immediately when I started streaming, it just became energized. And we're kind of theorizing that maybe something to do with the bandwidth that it's utilizing to stream might really energize or give more available energy to the spirits, because all of a sudden they showed up. And we had a lot of REM pod hits. Yes, no detector. I don't know what the actual name of the thing is. Got the green light, the red light, a pyramid shape.
Me too.
Yeah. And we got great pops, great hits on that. The K2 meters were just flying out. So it's at least 3 very, very distinct detection methods, because the REM pod, of course, uses an electrostatic field around the antenna. That something has to come in proximity to that to fire it off. The yes-no detector uses a different kind of proximity detection and has a temperature sensor on that as well. And that was firing off. And the K2 meter, which measures EM spikes, electromagnetic spikes, was firing off. And they were doing it in unison. So we had some really incredible things. And then at some point, Charles brought out his K2, and it was interesting. It was spaced somewhat near mine, in the same proximity. But you could tell that whatever this was transient. It was moving around this location and firing off either both of ours or just mine or Charles's. It was just this great collection of hits. And we got some really cool results. And at one point, Charles whipped out the dowsing rods, and nothing really seemed to happen with the dowsing rods specifically. But he did also open this app called Spirit Talker. And it's one that you guys might have seen on different shows. I think it's great. I mean, I don't trust that they always spit out relevant stuff. Everything they're saying is absolutely paranormally triggered. I think that there's an algorithm, but when you get correlation, it's pretty crazy, because at one point, I was talking and I was like, yeah, guys, and Charles and I are the only ones here. We're going to be here all night. In fact, we're going to sleep over in that room. And I put it up on camera so that people could see that off in the distance was a game room where there's, arcade machines and stuff. And then we talked, and like less than a minute later, or a minute and something later, that Spirit Talker goes, "Don't sleep here." Oh, So it was just a great chain of activity, and it wasn't like a constant, but it was just these real seemingly intelligent responses to things we were asking, and the hits that we were getting, and the temperature. Now, we had a temperature sensor on the table, and it never really measured a difference, but I'm here to tell you that it was like we were sitting in a freezer, a deep freezer. and it was like transient as well. Like first it came from the left side, and like half my body felt cold, and then it kind of came like it was right across the table from me, and like my face was cold, my hands were cold, my legs under the table were freezing, and I was wearing like several layers, and it was just like I might as well have been in a Speedo sitting there, because it was like I just couldn't warm up. But it was weird that it didn't really measure as a measurable temperature spike. And we asked, he said, and this is part of the investigation, I'm like, are you guys using heat energy to give yourselves energy, which is the common belief? And the yes no detector lit up green, like boom. It was like, oh my God, such a cool series of responses. So it was really a fun investigation. You were there, Rob, and you asked some questions as well.
Yeah, what I really enjoyed was certainly I asked some questions, and people in your audience asked questions too. But
yeah,
it was almost like, Brent, man, we got immediate responses. Thank you, Tex. 5 new Bigfoot pirates. Arr, thank you, matey. Thank you, Texas. So yeah, I like the immediate responses, which were you asked the question from the chat room and you had your own, and then Brent, it wasn't, some was not answered, not all, of course, but and they really, I mean, the responses were like, wow.
Yeah.
I was taking like, whoa,
it was very interactive.
It was very interactive.
So during the stream also, Charles and I think Charles actually brought it up. He's like, I wonder if something about the streaming is really giving them a lot more energy. And then he said, well, it'll be interesting to see if this kind of tapers down then after we're done streaming. And sure enough, when we did finish streaming, the activity went down a lot. We still got some of the triple hits and stuff, but just not nearly as much as when we were streaming. So there's wonder, what do you think about that, Krista? Do you think there's correlation?
It could very well be. I was going to ask you, what was the weather like?
It was just, I mean, it wasn't even overcast. It was just a cool, clear night, on Saturday. So it wasn't like any storm system or anything.
I don't know. I think it really honestly could have been, I mean, if you're streaming, you got devices going, and they can definitely pull energy off of that kind of stuff. Yeah. So absolutely.
And really quickly.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay, Krista, continue. But really quickly, before I forget, maybe this ghost, spirit, whatever you want to call it, entity, maybe it was kind of a showboat and enjoyed, and I'm not trying to be funny here, enjoyed having an audience.
Yeah, could very well.
Well, that would make sense if she was an entertainer, if it was her.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Good point. We did the flash. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Krista.
I was just going to say, what's really cool is that, you had different pieces of equipment going off at the same time. And that's something to really pay attention to, because that just don't happen very often.
Yeah, exactly. If one thing goes off, you can always go, well, that might be.
Right.
And you've got other things there that aren't being interacted with at all, or just one or the other. But it was just this trifecta of things. And it would be K2 hits, maybe a blip on the REM pod, and then the yes, no. It was like this cycle, and it with different order. But what the hell was I going to say? I was going to say something. It's gone from my head. Well, anyway, it was a really cool experience. If I think of it, I'll mention it or ask. I can't remember if it was a question or a statement. Getting old.
Well, it's actually a great show for Krista to pop on, because being an investigator herself for a decade at least, right, Krista? You can relate to a lot of these things he's talking about.
Oh yeah, heck yeah! I like doing the live shows too. We always like doing them. So
yeah.
And I have a question really quickly. I've asked Krista this, but I'm going to run this by you, Brent. Just get your take on it. And I'm going to play the part of thanks, girl and her gong.
Wow, nice.
I saw a 13-month member. Wow, applause. I wish I had the applause meter, Brent. Thank you.
Your wish is my command.
Yes, thank you, sir. That definitely is, needs some applause. Thanks, girl and her gong. Girl and her gong. So I'm gonna play like the dummy, but I know the answer, because I know Krista and Brandy forever. when you have this equipment, and I know you can put the hand by certain things and you show everything. How do we know that these are spirits that are activating all this equipment? We don't. We do. We don't. We just roll with it like it's because what it's supposed to do. That's the only thing I always try to wrap my hands around.
Yeah.
How I know I got bona fide evidence or there's something otherworldly here, out of this realm, or a spirit.
I think the biggest key, whether or not an equipment goes off, is I mean, there's any number of factors that could possibly trigger things to go off, and some of them are very mundane and natural, like K2 meters. You can start up your car sometimes nearby, and it'll spike a K2. I mean, they're just they're not really they're more ambiguous that you're getting some kind of electromagnetic trigger. The yes no detector, I don't know if there was the temperature shifts could have been nailing some of it, or it could be just something was standing in the gap or not. There's so much we don't know, and unfortunately this is all and I don't really take offense at it when people call it a pseudoscience, because it honestly it is, because we're not using we're utilizing a lot of tools that weren't meant for this, but we found that we can get some pretty interesting correlation. I think whether things go on or off or not it's less dependent on it perhaps being a spirit, but when it's intelligently going off in correlation to things that you're directing towards it, questions, or if there's statements, when it happens on cue, I think is the big takeaway. It's like, well, God, what are the odds that every time after we ask this, after certain questions or whatever, we get instant responses? Like in several points during that stream, the REM pod was going off, and it'd be like, oh, okay, thanks, and it would go off and we'd be like, okay, could you stop? And then boom, it would stop, and it was just like that, just that instantaneous. Or the question like, the heat, are you using that to get energy? Boom, yes. I mean, it's more of the synchronicity of it that helps you steer it towards, well, that very well could be an energy thing. But the fact that the devices are triggering, if it was more random, it would be like, well, whatever. Like earlier in the night, this is what I was going to make a statement about. I remembered now. We did put out the flashlight test, and it did go on and off a few times. Like, if you're here, light this up, boom, it went on. Then it went off when we asked it to, and this happened a few times. But then it was like on, off, on, off, on, off. Like it was almost like you're dealing with a petulant child. Like, I'll do what I want. So I didn't rely on that for the stream, because I couldn't correlate for sure that this was definitely intelligent or not.
Right.
But it did seem like it started off intelligent and then just kind of went, no, I'm not doing what you want. Screw you.
Quick question. What kind of flashlight did you have? Because
a Maglite twist on and off one.
Okay. So for me, and I'm not knocking that at all. So
Sure,
please don't think I am. But
right.
When we do like the flashlight, we use the touch lights only because like if the table gets knocked a little bit, because you're unscrewing the end. So it can easily knock it and you can get false positives.
Yeah, and there's temperature.
But I've learned doing that too. So yeah, we have actually the touch flashlights where they actually literally have to push it and touch it.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, that's great. I'll have to look into that as well.
Yeah.
And again, I know that like atmospherics can affect the twist on, twist off, temperature variations, any number of different factors can cause false positives. But again, when it responds in queue with questions and answers and that kind of thing, it's like, wow. And when we were in the Uinta Basin near Skinwalker Ranch, I was investigating there at a property right near Skinwalker, and my God, it was just, and I got it recorded. I just haven't created the video from it, but it was just like on, off, on, off. It's like, oh, are you this? Are you a guardian of the land? Boom, came on. Like, okay, thank you. Can you turn it off now? Off. And it's like, wow, it's absolutely intelligently correlated in events. So at that point, I feel more comfortable removing the false positives. But that's why I didn't use it on the stream, was because I couldn't be sure that it was any number of other variables that were triggering the flashlight going on and off. But I if you could send me a link or something to what flashlight you're using, I'd love to see that.
Absolutely. Also, another thing too, we always tell people don't always rely on equipment also, because your body tells you everything you need to know. Some people feel like they get that spider web effect, or, might get goosebumps, or, something like that too. So I always tell people, don't be sitting there looking at your equipment the whole time. Pay attention to your surroundings. You might miss a full bodied apparition while you're looking at your millimeter here, So
good point. Yeah, and I'm probably guilty of that as well, because you just get so dialed in. Sure. I don't remember to observe the room.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Before I forget really quick, my buddy Christy Sci-Fi is in the chat room.
Oh, hey, Christy.
And she has I think it's more of a general question. I already told her, no, I'm not answering that, because Krista knows that I do not like dolls. Tex knows as well. Dolls and clowns I'd rather see a werewolf or a dog man. I really would. So she threw out a general question. I think she's got something going on. What's your guys' take on or any experiences with the haunted doll situation?
They don't bother me, but some people,
I guess
dolls and clowns, like you said, spirits can attach. Yeah. There's as we all know, several famous haunted dolls out there.
It seems what's that one in South Florida? Annabelle's the movie.
Robert.
Oh gosh.
Robert.
I'd love to visit that part of Florida, but I was told not to look at that mural that they have on the side of the bar, because he'll follow you home. I don't know if that I buy that. Okay. Sure. But dolls and clowns, you guys, boom. And I think the dolls can be possessed. Mm-hmm. I've heard stories about dolls being possessed and taking over families.
What do you think, Tex?
Well, I think anything can be, and Rob, you know that. I mean, you had your run-in with all that stuff when you were buying the knickknacks and everything, and you had to get rid of all that stuff. Yep. I think anything can, I don't know about possessed, but have an attachment. I'll put it that way. Wow, Scott Life, cool.
Thank you, Scott. I can put that towards my new washing machine fund here in the middle of Christmas season. Thank you, Scott.
Rob's getting a new washing machine for Christmas.
Yeah, for $20. I love you, Scott. Thanks, bro.
Like I said, I think anything can have an attachment to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with dolls or clowns or anything like that, but I can certainly understand where somebody would.
Yeah.
I always think of Jaws when we're talking about dolls, and old boy sitting there talking about a doll's eyes, when the shark come up and look at you and they just roll back.
Doll's eyes.
Yeah, they have a doll's eyes, those dead eyes,
Yeah. By the way, my favorite movie of all time, Jaws, top 3 at least. Sorry.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think I did several research attempts to find what is the origin of dolls, and there's several different ideas out there, but I think one that I found most compelling was that dolls were never invented way back as children's playthings. They were invented as vessels for spirits and for the dead. And so, it doesn't surprise me that sometimes spirits will be gravitated towards that if they're earthbound, or, if they're even not human or whatever, it approximates a human shape, and maybe that's a place of comfort. Now, interestingly enough, the Amish don't allow faces on their dolls because they believe if it has a face, it will become a home for a dark, evil spirit.
Okay, that's just creepier than a doll with a face. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
Yeah. Something about the face for them is just like, nope, you can't have that. Those are evil. They will be evil, and they'll bring bad things to us. So, but crazy, that's a possible origin of dolls, was that they were never made for kids to, drag around and play house with.
No, I mean, is that Annabelle the one with the stitched up eyes and mouth?
Annabelle looks like Raggedy Ann.
Yeah, Raggedy Ann
Oh,
doll.
yeah, that's
Well, I think
another one.
she is.
burned
I think
that
that's what
down.
she is. She's an original Raggedy Ann doll.
Oh,
Yeah, I
man,
believe
yeah.
so.
That Raggedy Ann is creepy. I
I used
if
to
I had
have
a daughter, I would never buy her Raggedy Ann.
when I was a kid, a little bitty kid, I had two of the originals, the Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy dolls,
Mm-hmm.
the big ones.
Yeah.
Man, I wish I still had those.
Yeah, no kidding.
Be worth a lot.
What the hell was I going to say again? God, my brain. Oh, it's gone. It'll come back. I'll hopefully.
Don't bet on it.
No, probably not. Yeah,
I'm rubbing off on you. See, that's usually my role.
Me too.
Yeah, well, it happens plenty.
I'll be in the middle of a dance. I will come up with I'll have a topic in mind that I want to talk about, and I'll get halfway through the question or statement and forget the name of what I was talking about.
Yep.
I'm like, what?
That's why I have to write everything down.
Could you guys excuse me? I got to go use the loo. The bucket of coffee is catching up with me now.
Well, it's early morning for Brent. He's on Pacific time. So, yes, go ahead, Brent.
All right, I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah, he's still waking up.
Yeah, Christy Sci-Fi even says, what about voodoo dolls? I will tell you this. Strangely enough, you guys, I love voodoo dolls. Yeah, I'm just a weirdo, right? I had in my not the first house when I was married. You guys all know about that weirdness.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got divorced, I got my own house. In my garage, I turned it, of course, into a man cave. And you guys, I had a line with voodoo dolls and Jamaican warrior plaques and totem poles, all sorts of Haitian witch doctor stuff. And yeah, this is what my garage was. And here I am scared of dolls, yet I had all this other creepy stuff. But voodoo dolls, you guys believe? Chris, I'll go with you first. Tex can chime in, of course. Voodoo dolls, you think that actually people can cast a spell? We've seen voodoo dolls, how they make an image of Tex, and they take the needle and they stick it in his ass. Seriously, though. I'm being serious, though. I wonder if that happens in real day society.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I don't know. Voodoo dolls, they kind of freak me out. So when I was at the Haunted Castle House in Brumley, Missouri, they have a voodoo doll there. Yeah. And I don't know if it had any attachments or if it was really of someone or anything like that. But I don't know, just the idea of them and, what they go back to, a lot of that is, witchcraft and things like that I'm not into because I know what that stuff does to you, So, yeah. That scares me. Those scare me. Give me a Raggedy Ann Andy doll any day.
I would think with these witch doctors and voodoo dolls that have a doll of Tex or Rob or Krista or Brent, they practice black magic though, don't they? These witch doctors.
Well, I don't. Go ahead, Krista. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Brent. Go ahead.
I don't know that. I think the term witch doctor is really ambiguous. There can be, good witch doctors and there can be dark witch doctors. It's kind of like anything with magic it's all about the intention. It's like the magical practice is a magical practice, but it's where you're directing it. I remember what I was going to say before, and it had to do with the dolls and magical practices. So, obviously there's voodoo, where you make an approximation of somebody, do magical rituals. And you can torment them or send them negativeness, any number of things. And like Tex says, anything could be, targeted. The other thing is there's another practice in the magical circles, and it's not necessarily a dark practice, but it's the development of what's called a poppet, Poppet. And a poppet is like a practitioner will make a doll of themselves and imbue it with certain characteristics, maybe hair and other items, and it will become like if anybody's sending evil towards you or darkness towards you, the idea is that it will affect the poppet and not the actual individual. So it's utilized as kind of like a shield of sorts that whenever anybody's directing evil magic or spells or any darkness or hate towards you, it'll be redirected towards this poppet instead. And so that's another use of dolls in these practices.
Mm-hmm.
I know when you were off to the loo, I had asked Krista a general question about, they made a voodoo doll of Tex. We've seen these in the movies. The Serpent in the Rainbow comes to mind. You guys remember that movie way, way back in the 80s?
Mm-hmm.
Very creepy. So I guess they make a voodoo doll of Tex. Hell, we've even seen it on the Brady Bunch. And they take a pin, they poke it in the leg, the arm, and the person is affected by it. But there's some sort of spell put on that doll to affect the physical person. Oh boy, yeah, nice.
Yeah. This was made by one of my listeners, Sinfully Wicked. I don't know if she's in here.
Yeah,
right.
she is. She's in.
Yep.
Yeah,
she was earlier. Yeah.
Yep, this is it.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah, it's cute. It's cute. But you're right. Yeah, that is a practice. The thing with that is that I think with a lot of what we understand is magical and magical practices or witchcraft, wizardry, whatever, a lot of it is just these and this is more of a playful, obviously not really a dark approximation of somebody. Right. Yep. But energy follows intention is the idea that a spell is basically just directing energy towards something, and these become focal points for the practitioner. Not that they're probably imbued with anything on their own, but that and that's kind of the practice. So sometimes I don't know. I suppose the same is true for poppets or for healing. Even if you made a something like this and you wanted to send good things, that would be another device. But I don't know if that was relevant to what you were saying or not. But it just occurred to me.
No, I mean it's just just my comment and my thoughts. And I asked that. I think. Hey, listen, it doesn't matter if it's a voodoo doll, an Annabelle doll, a pencil, anything, right?
Anything
Anything
can be clothing. You see that a lot in a lot of museums, pieces of
clothing. And the thing that Brent mentioned that I've learned every day from Krista and Brandy as well, that word intent always pops up when we talk paranormal and being, I don't want to say taken over by something. I don't want to say, what's the word I'm looking for? Possessed, I guess.
Possessed.
But your intent is in anything. Like intent in real life. What's your intention on your job?
Right.
Your 9 to 5. What's your intent? Taking care of your kids. What's your intent for your future finances? But what's your intent when it comes to this weird stuff we talk about? Just like my intentions, what was my intentions when I bought all those scary trinkets? They were all haunted, Brent. I got a lot of things for your podcast and your live show, buddy.
Send them over, brother.
We can talk about. I didn't want to talk about the haunted bar today because I've spoken on it quite a bit. You would dig that one. But it's all the intention.
Yes. Yep. And and there's the possibility that, again, haunting stuff has a very direct correlation to the experiencer as well. Like we often, and I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on your show or not, but my belief is that we oftentimes attribute ourselves as just these unexpected or unwilling participants or recipients of this activity. But I really think there's something to the fact that, the people create it by a willingness to research and stuff. You probably create a circuit of sorts with these other intelligences, and we are an integral part of the experience, not just we happen to be there and experience all this weirdness. Like I went there with the objective of finding paranormal evidence, and so how much of that was a projection of my own desire as well? I mean, you can't remove that as and I think it's an empowering statement because it kind of sucks to think that all this stuff happens to us and we're just all we can do is just experience it or try to hide from it. But when you think that you're part of facilitating this, and I'm not suggesting that there aren't intelligent spirits out there that come into contact with us, but I think that sometimes they can be some form of egregore, and sometimes they can be maybe even a personal tulpa of sorts, you know, in individual cases, but that also by willingness of communicating, it does create, you know, maybe a circuit, and we are facilitating that. So I think that's an empowering, good statement, not a bad one.
Right. Yep. I agree with you.
Thanks.
And especially too, like, you know, you weren't there taunting, you know, you were respectful, you know, and that goes a long way too with getting, you know, good feedback, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, I mean, I've been in situations, and that's one thing that we don't do, and we don't allow it to be done at our events, you know.
Right.
Because, you know, if I'm that spirit and somebody's, you know, yelling at me, I mean, be it, you know, life or death, you know, how am I going to react, you know?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
he wants to put, you know, subject themselves to something like that. So
Yeah, I don't get ornery unless whatever's there is supposed to be ornery.
Yeah. No, I think that's very true. I mean, I think that being respectful is the best place to be, because and that's kind of a cheesy statement, but I always consider the fact, like, how would I feel if a group of people or a couple of people just came into my living room and asked me to, like, oh, drag a vacuum around. Okay, why don't you change the channel? Turn that down, it's too loud. Can you turn this light on and off for me? It's like,
right.
Like, get the hell out of here. What are you doing? Get out. This is where I live. You don't. You know?
And even you know, I've participated in a couple of exorcisms, and even, you know, the one that the gal was possessed, and she was saying things that there's no way, like, she would have known about each of us, you know, and you know, deep dark secrets type thing. And you know, even then, you know, like, I still had to keep my cool, you know. I couldn't, you know, like, lash back or anything like that. So, you know, always treat them, no matter what it is, you know, with some sort of respect.
Yeah. That's crazy. Wow. I don't envy that. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was,
You know,
pretty crazy experiences.
that's another great word too, respect. I think a lot of times if you go into these investigations with the intentions pure and the respect that you show, I think that it's appreciated by, you know, these other worldies or spirit world ghosts. And, you know, everyone's heard my ghost story and my shadow people story, but Tex, you haven't brought this up in a while, and I kind of want you to you saw you had a shadow person in your home.
Well, not really a shadow person. Mine was a full-blown apparition.
Yeah, well, my bad. Yeah.
Wasn't it in the bathroom with you or something?
No, that was the one that talked to me the other day.
Yeah.
Which I heard again, by the way.
Wow.
Not in the shower. It was just here. It happens every time I'm by myself.
Huh.
And we was on the show, and we all heard the female voice come out of my mic that went, And then a few days later, I was in the shower, and over the shower, I hear, "How you doing?" And then the other day, I heard the again.
Wow.
And I sat in the living room. So I don't know. I don't know what that's all about.
Are you engaging when you hear these things, Tex? I'm just curious.
No, not really.
Okay, so you didn't say I'm good, but how are you?
Well, yeah. I mean,
I'm gonna mistake it.
When I heard the voice in the shower, I went, "Well, that wasn't creepy at all."
You know, being in the shower, hearing a man's voice, by the way. I'd welcome a girl's voice in the shower, but certainly not a male voice.
Yeah.
You know, it's as long as I don't hear a male voice and a hand on each shoulder, I'm going to be okay if I'm in the shower.
Yeah. Hey, that reminds me. I snuck into the movie The Shining. I wasn't old enough to get in. I don't know. My mom dropped me and my buddy Andre off, right, years ago. Well, way back when, right? I think we were seeing a comedy, a PG movie, So, as kids, how back in the day, he used to sneak into the R-rated movie. So he snuck into The Shining.
Oof.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, let me tell you that, boy, I was a young guy too when I seen this. And, well, first of all, loved it, scared the you-know-what out of me. But the scariest part, even the kids, driving down the long corridor with the red rum, and all the blood, those creepy little girls.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a young male, right? You're into women, girls, right? The chick in the bathtub, beautiful naked woman. You got to see the boobs, the whole 9 yards. Pretty, me and my buddy are, oh, wow. And she gets out, wraps her arms around the guy, then she turns into that. Oh, I jumped out of my seat. That was so gross and like, oh my God. And then he couldn't get her off. Oh boy.
Childhood wrecked.
Yeah,
I mean, I've done that, back in the 80s, the morning after. But it's I've never had a girl turn into that when I'm kissing her.
Oh.
But
well, that was those bar eyes.
That's when you have your beer goggles on and you
Beer
wake up
goggles.
next morning, you'd rather chew your arm off than wake them up. I mean,
That happened to me one time, and I could not escape out of this chick's basement fast enough. And I ended up going through a window in the morning. Yeah, and I was like 40 miles from my house.
But and I say that, but looking back on it, I'm like, well, I can just imagine that most women that I woke up with wanted to do the same thing. So,
Oh boy.
Oh, that's funny.
But I don't know what's that other house that I lived in that you're talking about, Rob.
Yeah.
There, I guess you could call it a shadow person that my wife saw, because we were she thought it was me, because we were in the living room, we're down in the living room and we're watching TV, and I was sitting on the couch, she was laying on the couch, she had her head in my lap, and she fell asleep, and she raised up and she looked and she goes, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm right here." And it scared the hell out of her, because she thought she saw me walking up the stairs.
Yeah.
And so she didn't believe in ghosts till we lived in that house. But when, of course, the coup de grace was, well, I say that one of them was, the one you're talking about, Rob, is I think I was standing in the kitchen and cooking my lunch. It was during the day I was working nights, and it was just me and the dogs. And if you look out the door of my kitchen, it looked into my den on the wall of my fireplace. And I just caught something out of the corner of my eye, and I looked over, and there was this guy in a broad brimmed cowboy hat with a rifle crooked over his arm and a long saddle coat with one leg kicked up on the side of the wall by the fireplace.
Yeah.
And I went,
huh?
And I looked at him for a few seconds, and he just kind of faded out,
Yeah.
But the coup de grace was when I patted whatever the hell that was on the head that I thought was my daughter in my bed,
Mm-hmm.
Because those of you who hadn't heard it, I woke up, if you got little kids, and my youngest daughter was little at the time, and they'll come down and crawl in bed with you. They turn sideways and upside down and everything in the bed. And you end up with feet in your back, and hey, mind forked. And so this is what I was getting. So I sat up on the edge of the bed, and I looked over my shoulder, and it was my wife, the dog, and my youngest daughter. My youngest daughter was covered all the way up to here, and it was just top of her head sticking out of the covers. I went, all right, well, I see how this is going to go down. So I just got up. I went upstairs. I was going to go crash my daughter's bed, and I got up to the top of the stairs, kicked the hallway light on, and she's laying in her bed. And I went, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I turned the light back off. I turned the light back off, walked back downstairs, and walked into my bedroom. It was just my wife and the dog in the bed.
The most amazing part of that story, and you kind of skipped it, was the fact that you reached over and
I reached over, patted her on the head. Yeah.
patted her on the head. So that's like you made the actual physical contact with this apparition. To me, that just blows me away. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because I reached over and I said, okay, and I patted her on the head and I went on upstairs. So I don't know what, but the two entities or two presences, I'll put it that way, that we would pick up on in that house was the feeling of a small child. My wife said a small boy, and that cowboy figure, which was more of a protective like feeling. We had no, there was no negative feelings in that house at all. We would get the occasional cabinet that would be open or door that would be open or something like that, but that's not negative. You know, you hear pitter patter across the top of the, you know, up in the game room, but nothing negative. Now there was a bedroom. There was 3 bedrooms and a game room upstairs, and my son's bedroom was on the right, and my daughter's bedroom was on the left, and there was an extra bedroom that my oldest daughter would use when she come over.
Wow.
And it was the guest bedroom, and none of the kids would sleep in that bedroom. Not even her. She'd sleep in the game room on the couch when she come over, because they didn't. It was a creepy feeling. Now, my wife's brother, he was mentally challenged, and he didn't like that room either.
Wow.
But me, I slept like a rock in that room. So I don't know. I didn't get. Everybody got a weird feeling in that room, but me. I don't know why.
Wow.
But, now I will tell you this: me and Pops and Ranger were staying in a lake cabin this past weekend, and I was almost in Missouri, Krista. I was in northeast corner of Oklahoma, right there.
Oh.
Yeah, right there at the little 3 corners, 3 corners area. But we stayed in a lake cabin, and Pops had he had to leave a day early, and so it was me and Ranger. Well, I woke up that last night about, I think it was about 3, something like that. And y'all know me, I keep odd hours anyway. So I woke up because I heard him. I was sleeping downstairs, and I woke up because I thought I heard him walking around upstairs. I was like, okay, cool. He's up. I'll go watch TV with him, or shoot pool with him, or something like that. I got upstairs and went away there. So I went, okay. Well, I guess he went back to bed or whatever. So I didn't think nothing about it. What I didn't know about an hour earlier is he woke up to footsteps out on the deck.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So there had been some weird stuff that happened. There had been some entities that were seen. One entity chasing a deer that was on all 4s, and the deer scattered, scampered off, and I guess it got frustrated or whatever, and it just stood up on 2 legs, turned and walked off the opposite direction.
Wow.
And there were some other entities like that were seen, but this one was actually chasing a deer, so that was odd. But so I go out on the deck. I'm up anyway, so I go out on the deck, and I'm like, well, I'll go out here and see if I see anything, freaky. And I hear over to my left, I hear, about 30 seconds later, I hear, like a whining, a crying, and I'm like, all right, what the hell's going on? So then, and the lake is right in front of us, the canal, and if you can tell a beaver slap or a fish jump, okay, in the water, okay, and you can tell the difference when somebody throws a big rock in deep water,
right?
With that kabloosh, and that's what I heard. And I'm like, what in the hell is I got whining and crying over here, and then I get rocks thrown in the lake. What the hell's going on? So I'm like, well, crap. So I hit record on my phone, and about a few minutes later, across the canal, I hear the whining again.
Wow.
And that's the email that I sent you. That's that audio clip I sent Brent. He's gonna see if he can pull it out a little bit more. But we listened to it the other day. But I never heard it again. But there was definitely some weird stuff going on. I went downstairs that last night because I would go upstairs, and it's kind of I don't know, it's a weird thing for me. I have to turn the lights off when I walk out of a room, and I went downstairs and my bathroom light was on. I was the only one that was down there.
Oh.
So my bathroom light was turned on. I'm like, oh, what the hell's going on? But again, it happened about the third day. And I've seen that as a pattern too. If you've got activity, especially with cryptids or anything like that, about that third day is when stuff really starts to happen. So I don't know what chased that deer. I didn't see it. Okay. But that doesn't sound paranormal to me. Or spiritual or whatever. That sounds physical to me, whatever's chasing it. If it got an animal running from it, So yeah, I don't know.
Interesting.
But that was a like a shadow entity or shadow. It was. I say it's a shadow entity. That's all they could see was the silhouette of it. But the other entities that were seen were white. That were seen walking around in the area.
Wow.
Wow.
It's a weird situation up there. But I want to go back, and when I go back, I didn't want to turn the fishing trip into a paranormal investigation.
Well, we got to break away sometimes.
So, but yeah, next time I go up there, I'm going for that's going to be one of the purposes. I'm going to pull out all the stops, see if I can catch something more. Then hopefully that wine comes across them and Brent can pull it out more.
Yeah,
so,
I'll try. Yeah.
Hey Brent, I remember a couple, maybe 2-3 years ago when I was watching your channel, or maybe a podcast, I forget which. It was one of the two. You had you visited the ghost town of Coloma, I believe, several years ago.
Yeah.
And you had some pretty interesting things going on over there, if I recall.
Yeah, Coloma is an abandoned gold mining camp, but it was kind of a little town, maybe more like a village, but it was just a bunch of miners' shacks. And then there was apparently a house there at one time that's long since fallen down under the weight of the Montana snow. And there's no real big trace of it left, just some boards and stuff. Most of the cabins there are log and they're caved in or in some state of disarray, but there's one still that's standing. At least there was. I don't know if it's survived. Hasn't been too bad winters since I was up there, so I'm sure it's probably still standing. But there's a lot of tales from this mining camp. A lot of obviously, anytime you're dealing with an old time gold mine or silver mine, lots of accidents and things happen. But one of the stories of this place was, outside of the many different stories, but there was this one tale that really broke my heart, and that was that towards the end of the mining activity up there, it just kind of dried up around the turn of the 20th century, maybe 1920s. I think it finally just shuttered and everybody left, and nobody's really quite sure why, but there's lots of ideas, like the beginning of World War I or whatever. But one of the tales was that in the 1800s, they had apparently brought on a crew of the Chinese immigrant workers who were working on the railroad. Well, that project was about done, so they brought a crew of them into the mine to work the mine. And so they were up there working the mine, and apparently the revenue was really dwindling. And so at the end of the month, when it came time to pay these people, allegedly, they opted instead just to collapse the shaft on them.
That's about right.
Yeah, just a horrible stuff. And when we were up there, the first time we were up there, we did get something that approximated ni hao coming through, like it was and some other phrases that could very well have been Chinese that we couldn't make out what they were. But there was also near there a hunting cabin that's about half a mile or 3/4 of a mile away, walking over the mountain. So the first year I was up there, it was just Dan Pruitt and I, and we were all alone up there after Duke and his team moved out and went to another location. We were there together with Duke and his team, including Kevin Lang, and Caveman was there and stuff. And but they only stayed there one night, whereas Dan and I continued there because we just wanted to ghost investigate. And so we went over to it was in the evening, and this mining or this hunting cabin was probably last occupied, I think, in the early 90s at some point. But it's really weird when you walk into there because it's this little 2-room shack, and it looks like a more of a modern build, like maybe from the 50s, and it's still standing, but there's still stuff on the table, like somebody just ditched out of there and just left everything as is, which is really bizarre all by itself. But the cabin felt creepy. But I'm here to tell you, we got there during the daylight, just at the ending of the day, and we're up there investigating. We got the equipment set up. As the darkness came, the energy of that place changed, and it became just horrible. And we were getting things like we were utilizing a build like the Huff Paranormal portal, Huff Paranormal. And the portal build where he has like a device that carries around, and you get some pretty interesting, there's a lot of mechanics, stochastic resonance and all of that spirits are believed to be able to take a sound field and shape it into words. Well, it uses a sound base, a database of just vowels or, phonemes, just parts of words, not complete words. But we got after you've listened to this for a while, you get really used to what sounds are a part of the database. And so when something new happens, it just jumps out at you like a flaming torch. It's like, whoa. Well, we were sitting there and all of a sudden it got darker and darker and darker, and the energy just shifted. And all of a sudden the thing was repeatedly spitting out bang, bang, bang. And in my mind's eye, I'm thinking that there's somebody in there standing there, like holding his fingers going, oh, I'd like to take you out, making like a gun noise. And we were both like, oh my God, what is that? That really jumped out as very odd. And then we got some really deep, horrible, growly voices. And then finally it said, get out. Wow. And okay, yep, we're good.
We're done.
Yeah. And then we backed up, and Dan was the seasoned investigator. This is actually my first ever official investigation. And he grabbed some stuff and left, and he said, hey, you want to run back in there and grab the rest of the stuff? And I'm like, okay. So I go back in there by myself and grab the rest. And then we went from there to the town center, which is, again, about a half mile away. Mm-hmm. We got over there and set up. And it's like we're on the top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere. There's no help around miles and miles in Montana in a ghost town. There's nobody anywhere near this place. And the darkness is just oppressive. The only light we had, he had a little handheld flashlight. I didn't have anything. I was not prepared at all, really. But we had the bed light on the pickup that he rented, and that was all we had. This little bed light that was our little vestige of light in this wall of darkness. And we got a lot of crazy stuff, and it was really a powerful experience. And I was filming earlier in the day, and I think I captured some black figure, dark figure, ducking down as I was panning around with my phone. It was like standing up on it was a tailings pile from the mine. It was just the tailings, and it's overgrown and stuff with trees on it, but there was something there. And as I'm panning around, and I only caught it when I was editing it much later, there's a figure up there between two trees, and then it just ducked down. So I don't know if that was Bigfoot or if it was a shadow person or what, but there was definitely a figure on the pile that ducked down as soon as I panned around. So yeah, that was creepy. That was my first baptism by fire in the paranormal world.
Yep. It's one thing you don't forget is your first really like, wow.
Yeah, that's the truth. You never forget your first.
Nope.
Hey, did you also miss out on an actual sighting of a Bigfoot? You fell asleep or something? Duke was telling me a long time ago, or if I recall.
No, because I didn't even sleep up there. Dan and I
Okay.
stayed at a hotel near there because we had all this stuff we had to
Gotcha.
plug in and recharge, so we couldn't just camp out on the mountain. But no, I didn't sleep through it. That wasn't me.
Hey, let me ask you then. I
He
always
just
ask
wasn't
Krista
there.
this.
That's why he missed out on
Yeah, there you go.
Wasn't even
Hey,
around.
let me ask you this. I always ask the girls this all the time. Like, if you're in an area, this haunted ghost town or a haunted hospital, cemetery, and you come across something that's paranormal or ghost-like, do you ever feel that it can? And I know, I just say this. I ask this all the time because I'm kind of always fearful of this, and I know what I should say or do, and this, that, and the other. But are you ever fearful of bringing something back with you, though? Because it happened to me, not reluctantly. I was not even into the paranormal,
Mhm.
and got some things, went to some places, bought some things. Does it ever cross your mind when you're out investigating? Wow, I hope this doesn't, you know, like me and want to follow me home or whatever the case may be.
Sure. Well, you're asking me?
Yeah, I know what Chris is.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's three of us that are, exceptionally involved in investigating, but I would say that I always look at it like you have to open an investigation and you have to close it, much like you would a seance or anything else. And I'm not meaning that, that it's like a dark practice, but you open it with prayer. If you're a Christian, you open it with asking for protection, and you certainly can wear sigils, symbols, whatever resonates with your spirituality. But then when you're done, you really have to close it. You have to close it in the same manner. Make statements. You're not allowed to follow me and say prayers of cleansing.
Right.
You can utilize things like sage or frankincense and sweetgrass or stones or crystals or tones or songs or whatever, hymns, whatever. And that, the Lord's Prayer, holy water, any number of things that resonate with your spirituality to close it. So I mean, it's always a concern. Yeah. Because what if I didn't do it as well as I should have, then, and what if there is something really dark and sinister that's much more powerful? And so the more, menial things don't work, and it would take something more powerful to break that attachment. That's always a concern. Yeah, absolutely. But I do the best that I can to mitigate it. So, but I think that's actually what I think is kind of the biggest risk in all of this, is that the plethora of ghost shows and ghost investigations, they show people go into the place with these tools and stuff, do all this stuff, and maybe get crazy activity. Maybe it's real, maybe it's not. It's up to you to decide. But I think and then they go home, and then you see them on another episode doing it again, and they don't include that. The one show that really I always liked was what was it, Ghost Asylum, with the Tennessee Wraith Chasers. They always opened it with a prayer, and they always closed it with a prayer. I was like, that's cool, because they're demonstrating that, look, you gotta first ask for protection before you enter into this, communion of sorts, and then you've got to close that up. You got to shut it off and cut off that connection.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's a great point, and I asked you that because I know what Krista's answer is, and kind of Texas answer, but that's a great point with these shows, because they don't show the before and after. Because if you're just, because I remember years ago, I went with some friends of mine, and we went to the Eloise Asylum in Michigan, which was a terrible. They did terrible things there, and there's a lot of hauntings there. In fact, today it was condemned. It was shut down. Today it's open now as you can go there and investigate, but it's also open as a museum of sorts. It's kind of like to draw in money and sell stuff.
Sure.
But you can also go way in the back where it's still left. And we had gone there a decade, probably 15 years ago, and went in the underground tunnels, and we captured some things we had the throwaway cameras, took a bunch of pictures and captured a couple images, which are of a ghost on a gurney. Out of like 100 pictures, we got a ghost sitting up on a gurney.
Wow.
At this place. And we went over fences to get in there because it was off limits. Do not enter. But we were kids, right? We did it anyway.
Right.
But my thing is this, though. Going back to alluding to what you said earlier, they don't show in these shows what you do before and after. And I think a lot of amateur investigators or wannabe investigators, whatever you want to call them, go to these places without the proper knowledge or tools. And I think a lot of these people, they take this stuff home and they end up getting that negative energy. Things happen to them that they can't explain, which much like happened to me several years a long time ago. And so I think that is kind of not very responsible. And it's just coming in my head now when you talk about these things, how, sure, it's ratings, make money, but they're leading people astray that this is real and you could come across some negative circumstance.
Well, there's a lot of lies going on out there. Just for example, the Sally House. The town of Atchison, so it's privately owned, but the town of Atchison, Kansas, runs the ghost tours and all that stuff out of it. Well, they advertise it as being haunted by a little girl. It is far from a little girl. It's a demonic entity that is there. Yeah, and so I mean, I've known cases of where people have gone, and actually, it was a high school girl just looked in the window of the Sally House. The next thing we know, she's getting possessed. True story. So, it's a money making deal too, and that's what the city of Atchison, like I said, they advertise it as being haunted by a little girl. Far from the truth.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yep, that's true.
Did y'all know Texas has the most ghost towns in the United
I
States?
saw that what little Patty said.
I would think being so big is such a vast state.
We have an estimated
I'm going to have to go out of here because I got to pick a kid up in 15 minutes.
Yeah, we're going to be shutting off a little bit, Krista. Thanks for coming on in.
See y'all.
Hey, wait, really quickly, you're on tonight, right?
Yep, we'll be on tonight.
Check out the Blinds Booths tonight, 8 o'clock Central, 9 in the East. All right. But yeah, so anyway, Tex, back to what you're saying, that Texas has a lot of ghost towns, you're saying?
Yeah, an estimated 900.
Wow. Are they all open to the public? Like anybody could just go in there?
I just saw the number.
Okay. Tex is doing some surfing in the background. Hey, I know we're getting close to the end of the show. I got to ask you both this. We've all seen movies where you're like, it's usually in the desert areas of maybe Texas, Arizona. You're on the freeway. You see one hotel standing by itself in the middle of nowhere. You stop in, you want to get some sleep. What's your guys' take on that? Would you do that personally? I'm not talking about ghosts. I'm not talking about criminals, because we've seen both sides of the story. Haunted, murder, and mayhem, right? That kind of, I think television's done this a lot to me, the way I think. I'm not so sure that I'd want to do that and stop somewhere, some motel, looks dilapidated. There's nothing for miles away. Was that something you would do, be adventurous and spend the night? Or how does that grab you guys? I mean, what's your thought on
Bother me, though.
I know nothing bothers Tex. Brent, Tex is the guy that went into a closet with a known demon and egged him on to fight him. So Tex,
really,
nothing affects Tex.
Jesus, Tex. Wow. That's powerful. Yeah, I don't know. I always enter into this with quite a bit of caution, just because you don't know what you're dealing with, for me. But then again, as an investigator, at least I don't know if I can call myself an investigator. I've investigated. I would love to be an investigator and do this a lot more, but I've only done probably about 10 investigations so far. Loved every one of them, but I still, I don't know. I guess if it was impromptu, I probably wouldn't, just because I would like for, you're talking about an abandoned place?
No, it's open, but it looks like
seen better days.
Creepy,
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I actually like.
It says motel on the side of the road. Says motel.
Blink,
the sign is cropped down. It looks.
I mean,
like,
I'm not,
yeah.
I'm not afraid to stay anywhere, I guess. You know, I actually, I love going into old buildings just because, I don't know, I like the vibe. I like the fact that, you know, these walls, these, you know, these places have seen so much and so many people have passed through them. And to me, that's incredibly fascinating. I've been very fortunate, and I don't mean to beat my chest, but I've been on all these investigations that I've been on with some pretty good activity. I've never felt scared. I've never felt fear. I get excited, you know, yeah, but I don't know that I've ever felt like, oh no. Now, I'm not suggesting that I would, you know, actively jump into any situation. But
she's back.
Yeah, Krista's somehow. I don't know if you meant to come back on, Krista, but
Hello.
yeah, I don't know if she did that inadvertently. Well,
maybe.
Joe Monk in the chat says what scares him most about these locations is the two-way mirrors.
Oh yeah, I always do the finger test. I always do the finger test every time.
The thing I worry about most is, like, you know, the hotel and stuff like that. It's bed bugs. I mean, that's
yeah. That's the kind of stuff
concern.
You know, one thing I would never buy or never bring to a hotel motel, especially when we go on conferences.
Luminol.
Yeah, you know, because I will never sleep. I will stand in the corner, sleep outside, because you damn well know there's something in all of our beds. I don't care if it's 5 stars. Sure. I don't care if it's there's something going on. Thousands of
people. I don't need the whole room, right? You know, blood spatter all over the wall. I don't need to know that.
You don't need that. You don't need the bugs in all of our beds, because we've all slept with bed bugs. Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I think honestly, if we suddenly had perfect vision and could see everything that's around us, I think we would all collectively be pooping our pants, because I think we're swimming in a world of spirit. We just aren't aware of it.
I think we never leave our homes, and some people would probably wrap themselves in plastic or go into a bubble.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that it's all around us all the time anyway, and it may not be actively aware of us, and we're obviously not actively aware of it, but sometimes the paths cross.
And the things about us as human beings, if we can't see it, it does not affect us. We just ignore it. Out of sight, out of mind. Yep. We're going to wrap it up here in a minute. Brent, you got anything going on upcoming this week that you'd like to tell the audience about?
Nothing exceptionally exciting. I'm going to be doing a Friday and Saturday show as usual. Next week, I'll be doing a Wednesday show. I've got Tony Rathman and his wife Cherie, who are the other EVP specialists. They're working with a new process that they've created called Staticom. And if you ever get a chance, any of you that are interested in this, check out Staticom, STATICOM.com, and you can check out what they're doing. They use an entirely new process, and some of the evidence they're collecting is absolutely exceptional as far as EVPs are concerned. So they'll be on my live stream next Wednesday. That's the big event, because usually I don't have guests on the live streams, but I definitely wanted to get them on because they're fantastic people, and it's really exciting stuff. And other than that, you know, obviously the holiday week, I'm going to be absolutely disconnected. I might, you know, be on social media or whatever, but I'm not planning anything through that week. So just that's all I got.
I think you'll be on with us once again next Thursday before the holidays, right? I believe that's the 19th coming up.
Yeah, I think I can do. Yeah, I can do that one, and then the next week I can't.
No, I got you. I don't think I'm on. I have looked at the calendar. Tex, what you got going on upcoming?
Actually, I'm having a special co-host on the morning show on Waking Up Weird the 18th because Paul's gonna have to work, so Kimber is going to co-host with me, and
Kimber, very nice.
But the porch on Monday on the 16th, Mary Lynn Bass is going to be there, so she does gallery readings. So, you know, we'll be doing readings for everybody that's in the chat, and then let's see. The 23rd, of course, I'll have Adam Davies and Greg Ogles on the porch.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Adam's a nice guy.
And I will not be doing a show Christmas Day or New Year's Day. I'm not.
Yeah, our schedule's just kind of light this week. I've got a great show next Tuesday. Ronald Murphy will be joining me.
Oh, cool.
Then us guys will reconvene that Thursday. Christmas Eve, I'm off. New Year's Day, I come back with Dave Scott, Space Out Radio. I'm doing a special Wednesday New Year's Day show because I tried to get him on for the holidays, but he will be available. I'm doing I don't do shows Wednesday, but it is January 1st is New Year's Day, and nobody's got nothing going on, and so we're gonna do something about 6 o'clock and just chill out and talk about whatever.
I don't know. Y'all may see me pop on later tonight. We'll see. Do not forget, y'all, go over to it's called Tea Time with Danielle Diva. That's her channel. She's doing recipes and interviews and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, good for her.
They do all of these great. Her mother does all this great cooking, and you get to see her cook and do the recipes and all that kind of stuff. It's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But I can't wait. If I ever get up to Canada, I'm gonna gain 40 pounds. I swear. But
amen. Yeah.
Amen. Well, this is a cool show. I always appreciate when you guys come on. Text, of course, we've been doing this now for Brunch with Bigfoot Rob. 4 years we've been doing this, text, and always a pleasure. I can't believe that. I can't believe it. That's awesome. It'll be 4 years in January. I just looked it up. Thanks for that, Tex, as you well know. Brent, always a pleasure having you on. We got to hook up, man. I want to get on a podcast, so I can swing a live show one day if you want to break out that mold on a whim. Whatever you want, it's your show. With that being said, I want to wish everybody a great weekend. Of course, I'm Bigfoot Michigan Rob. For Tex, for Brent, we're out.